Hey there, my friends. This is Bill McDonald, the Writing Doctor, and as I promised, I was going to dedicate some time today on helping you understand what a score deserves, why it gets the score, and then how to improve it. So one of the things that I want to show all of you that have my digital or hard copy of the binder is on page 487 and 488, there is a scoring guide that you can use to score 5 essays. On the front, basically I took the keyword strands from each bullet point from a 0 all the way to a 4, and you can write the name and number of the student. You can be grader 1, there can be a grader 2, and then of course, as you know, in elementary you combine the two scores, and secondary then you double the score afterwards. If you're really trying to help your student improve, then on the back you can make comments. You see the dotted lines there, you can cut and make comments. How well did the student do in the 3 traits that the state uses? The first trait is development with voice. The second trait is the O, organization. It's how they're focused and how they're moving from idea to idea. And the third area is the conventions. So if there's 2 different graders, I would suggest that each of you put something different to help the student with band-aids or surgery, whatever is needed. So for this first video, I want to only focus on what TEA released in 2015 to say what would get you a 0 based on the subjective opinion and viewpoint of each grader. Something to keep in mind is, I want to show you what I did here. Red is 911, so 0 means unscorable. So one person cannot say 0 and another person say 1, because unscorable, one person can't say it's scorable and the other person say it's scorable. So either it's a 0-0 or it's a 1-1. But our low kids, we're going to call this the 1-2 papers, or of course the 0. I've circled in red. The middle kids, that could go either way, the 2-3 kids, I'm going to put a little M there for medium. And then the 3-4 kids, I'm going to put high. And I'm going to put an E on the 4, which is the exceptional or elite papers. Only about 1 to 2% of the kids in Texas in 4th grade get 2 4s, and only about 4 or 5% of the students each year are able to get the 8, which turns into a 16 in secondary. So let's just focus on this video only on how to get a 0. Keep in mind it's the subjective opinion of the viewer. So if the student writes little or nothing, then you would make a little check mark there. Based on your opinion, they're just saying there's not enough there to be able to tell their ability to understand the topic or to respond in an expository essay. If there's a refusal to write, that would be little or no writing. If all they wrote was "you can't make me do this," or some profane bad word or whatever, then that would be considered little or nothing. A refusal to write is writing little or nothing. Indecipherable penmanship, the letters are so strewn together that you can't really understand what the child was intending. There's just random letters with no words put together to make sense. Indecipherable grammar is the conventions, what we call the cups. The capitalization, usage, punctuation, spelling is so bad that you can't make your way through the essay. There's run-ons and fragments, and you can't even tell when a sentence starts and when a sentence finishes. Also, completely off topic and off prompt. This doesn't say restate the prompt. It just means that you never address it in the first place. So if they can find at least 1 or 2 sentences that address the prompt, in most cases they're going to get at least a 1, because you'll see here weak prompt focus, wrong purpose. So it's up to the reader's discretion whether there's enough there about the topic. And usually if they can find at least 1 or 2 sentences, they'll give it a 1. If there's nothing about the topic at all, then they can give a 0. So that's why I use the phrase completely off-topic prompt. Since kids need to write in English or Spanish, if half the essay is written in English or half in Spanish or Spanglish or Tex-Mex, it says the essay is written primarily in a language other than English. So primarily means that they spend most of their time writing in the wrong language. Okay. The last one that I want to talk about is very little or no original writing. If all they do is write the words from the read section and the think section and the prompt, that is nothing original. That didn't come from their head. So they would have to give that paper 2 zeros. If all the student does is go to the revising and editing portion and rewrites one of the other passages in a response to the prompt, the graders are now made aware what the passages are. So if a student tries to write something that is just a regurgitation of one of the editing or revising passages in elementary or in high school, because you take the reading that same day, if they just rewrite one of those and call it expository or in 10th grade persuasive, then they have to call it a 0. Another example, if all you write is a poem or a song or a book or the lyrics of something, like there's no original writing there, it has to be something from the kid's own head. It can't be just nothing but a formulaic, rigid restating of the prompt, and everything in the read section or the think section, those will get 0s. In my next video, I'll talk to you about how a paper gets a 1, but what you're going to see is the paper will get a 2 because it means that 2 different people give it a 1. I want to show you the secondary one, the 7th grade. It'll show 2, but the final score would be a 4, because just keep in mind every 7th grade essay, the score you see on the top is actually doubled on the final score. Hopefully that helps. God bless you guys, and I'll see you after lunch.